All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going to step into a world of shadow and psyche, a place called the City of Glass. We're going to perform a kind of literary alchemy, really, using Freud's map of the mind to decode this powerful parable of transformation. So let's dive right in. So, our story kicks off with this figure, right? The merchant. He lives in this dark Gothic city, surrounded by these silent, judgmental audiences. And you should think of him as the conscious self, the part of us that puts on a very carefully crafted face for the world. He's trapped, not by actual walls, but by this deep need for approval, wearing a mask to hide everything that's really going on inside. And you've got to understand this mask, it's way more than just a disguise. It's a cage. The merchant's entire life is basically a performance, a life of just inauthentic conformity. He's living in what the text calls a stagnant pond, where his identity isn't really his own. It's just a social costume he puts on every day. Okay, and this is where Freud's model of the psyche just maps so perfectly onto our story. The merchant, he's the ego. That's our conscious, rational self. And the city's silent audience? Well, that's the superego, the voice of society's rules, always judging. And that psychic basement we mentioned, where all those beard whispers are coming from, that's the id. It's the primal instinctual part of us that the merchant is trying so desperately to ignore. But a world this carefully balanced, this sterile, it can't last forever. You just know something is about to come along, break the silence, and shatter that perfect reflection in the mirror. And here he is, the honest guest. Now, this shadowy figure, he's not just another character. He's more like a force of nature. He is the catalyst who shows up to force a confrontation to make the merchant finally look at what's really behind the mask. In Freudian terms, he's a powerful, disruptive instinct. And that instinct is what Freud called the death drive. Now I know it sounds pretty grim, but think of it less as a desire for literal death and more as this deep, primal urge to tear down everything that's false. It's like the psyche's own personal demolition crew, there to clear away a condemned building, which is the merchant's fake identity, to make room for something real to be built. So the moment the honest guest arrives, the merchant's entire world just starts to dissolve. The show is over. The cataracts of faith, all those illusions he built his life on, are stripped away, and his carefully constructed reality just crumbles into sand. It's a terrifying, painful process for sure, but it is absolutely necessary for what comes next. This brings us to the first of three huge transformations. The spirit, now stripped of all its illusions, has to become the camel. It has to learn how to bear the crushing weight of reality, of truth. So what does the camel do? It accepts its burden. It stops looking up to the sky for approval from others and instead grounds itself in the messy, complicated reality of its own inner world. The ego, it finally turns around to face the id. It acknowledges the secret names, all those repressed parts of itself it had kept hidden away for so long. This is a stage of heavy, painful, but necessary acceptance. So here's our roadmap for the journey we're on. We've just covered the camel, which is acceptance. Next, we'll move into the rebellion of the lion and finish with the rebirth of the child. All right, so after acceptance comes rebellion. The spirit, after carrying that heavy burden, now gathers its strength to fight back. It becomes the lion. And this stage isn't quiet, it's not passive at all. It is a violent, roaring fire. The lion's purpose isn't just about destruction for destruction's sake. It's a creative fire. It shatters the old laws, the old rules of the superego, not out of pure malice, but to clear a space so the self can finally create its own values. What you're really seeing here is the id, that primal shadow, rising up in its full power. It's rejecting the script society gave it, tearing down the stage, and shattering that final, sovereign mask of social conformity. It is a necessary war against the internal tyrant of the superego. And just look at this contrast. It shows you just how far this journey goes. You go from the rigid, approval-seeking merchant who's stuck in his little pond, all the way to the free, creative child, a self-propelled wheel that's literally dancing on the wreckage of its old world. It's a total reinvention of the self. So out of the ashes of the lion's destruction comes the final, triumphant stage, the child. Now, this isn't about going back to being naive. It's about achieving a totally new kind of innocence, a state of pure, unburdened creation. To really get the child, you have to understand the light it lives under, the hollow sun. It's not warm and nurturing. Think of it more like a cold, clarifying spotlight of absolute truth. Under its harsh gaze, there are no illusions, no social games, and, most importantly, that internal critic, the nagging voice of the superego, is finally silenced.
And in this clarifying light, the child is born. It's completely free from the need for anyone's approval. It says a sacred yes to its own existence exactly as it is. And here's the beautiful alchemy of it all. That death drive, that destructive force from before, has now been mastered. It's no longer an urge to just tear things down. It's been transformed into the ultimate power of sovereign creation.
So what's the final result of this epic psychological journey? It's the emergence of the sovereign self, what the text so beautifully calls the holy fool. Now this part is crucial. The world itself, the city of glass, it hasn't changed. The marketplace is still there, but the individual's relationship to it has been completely remade. What was once a prison of judgment is now a temple, a place where the authentic self, the beast, is finally, truly at home.
I mean, this final image is just incredibly powerful. The transformed self doesn't fear chaos or the unknown anymore. It embraces it. That volcano isn't a threat, it's an invitation. This new person isn't governed by outside rules, but by their own internal authentic law.
This whole journey from merchant to child, it's really a map of the soul's potential. It's a reminder that beneath all the masks we wear, a powerful process of transformation is always waiting. And so it leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. What happens when we dare to invite our own honest guest inside?